Hi, it's me, Misterplumber, and I'm doing a video on soldering. Here we have some half-inch copper tubing and a half-inch fitting. This is 3/4 female by half-inch copper. And there's what we call a water heater T. It's 3/4 female by half-inch female by half-inch copper. We're going to solder this onto here. Now, it's imperative when you solder that all the fittings and the pipe be clean. And they need to be cleaned with an oxidized emery paper. So this emery paper right here will do. It's waterproof. This is an emery paper that we use when we suspect that there may be water in the pipes, because the paper tip dissolves. Here's the paper type. I have both types. So basically what you do is you hold the pipe, turn it, holding the camera at the same time, so it's a little hard to do with one hand. And it should be shiny, just like that. You also want to etch the grooves. I don't know if you can see how the grooves are etched into the copper. That provides a better biting surface for the solder when it actually sticks to the copper. For the fittings, you can either use a fitting brush, such as this one, and when these are new, you can only go one way with them, and you turn the brush into the fitting clockwise till it stops, and then pull it out. What they also have is this gadget, which you can tie on the end of your drill. Now this gadget does both the inside fittings, and when you slide this back, it'll actually do the outside of the pipe. So what you would do is stick this in here, inside the fitting, and turn it. I need two hands to do that, and it's hard to do with the camera, but you get the idea. Okay, so now that the pipe and the fitting are clean, we're going to solder it. However, we need to flux it first. So understand that the process of soldering is a chemical reaction. It's a chemical process where the flux creates a bond chemically between the copper and the solder. And it's imperative that all these things be clean. So after this is clean and this is clean, you never touch them with your hands, because you can leave a fingerprint on it, and the salt from your hand will make the solder not stick. You want to coat the surface with this flux inside totally, ensuring that all the surfaces are covered. And the same thing for the pipe. So now we have the pipe flux, we have the fitting fluxed, and we're just going to push them in. And it's imperative that this be pushed into its full depth. So that fitting is made up, fluxed, and it's ready to solder. Here's the torch. However, I wanted to just do a quick review of the torch here. Everything I do involves safety, and I've been doing this for 22 years. So I always shut my tank off when I'm done. This valve right here, the main valve, generally should only be open about a quarter or so. This regulator, however, on the side adjusts the flame. Now this is actually a Presto light, and believe it or not, I bought this from an old timer, and I prefer it better than the turbo torch. The turbo torch has a real nice small tip, and I've gone through probably 10 or 12 of them in the past 5 years, and they're $50 a piece. This I've had for about 3 to 4 years now and haven't had to buy a replacement tip since. So now we're on to the regulator. We have gas. This is acetylene, by the way. Propanes work similar. And we're live to this hose. We're live to this valve right on the handle. So when I turn the handle on, the acetylene comes out. If you notice when the flame is on, that there was a blue inner cone on the flame, that's the hottest part of the flame, not the end of the flame. So when you solder, you always want to keep the blue inner cone on the piece you're working on. I have this handy little jig that I bought years ago that's attached to my torch, and it's pretty handy when you need to solder something small like this. But you can be as creative as you want to be with the jigs, and this is what I use just for speed. So this is ready to be soldered. It's in the jig, and we can solder it. Now when you solder, it's very important that you don't aim the flame into the joint. You never want to aim the flame this way. You always want to aim in the back rear of the joint using the blue inner cone. The reason for that is because if you aim it this way, you're going to oxidize the copper and the solder will not stick to it. So here's our solder, and this is pretty much, it's a little long, but this is pretty much how I would use it. And I heat the back right here, and just when you heat the back of the joint, what happens is it creates a micro vacuum, and the micro vacuum pulls the solder in through sort of a capillary attraction, and that's what actually holds the solder in. It's that very small space that gets created by the vacuum of the heat and the copper expanding. That sucks, it actually sucks the copper right in. I mean, it sucks the solder right into the joint. And then while the solder is still molten, you do 1 or 2 wipes, just like that. However, if you over wipe, it can really mess with the joint. So just 1 or 2 wipes is all you need. So the joint is soldered now, just letting it cool. I needed 2 hands to solder, so I had to put down the camera. But the actual solder is almost done. It's almost solid again. However, this still needs to cool. The beauty of working with copper is when you're done soldering, as long as the solder isn't molten, you can cool it immediately off with cool water or just water. It'll cool it right down immediately. However, you don't want to do that when the solder is molten because it will actually explode and splatter all over the place.